You're good.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So some of the housekeeping items that I wanted to cover with you is one, that you will not be able to see yourself on video. We want to make sure that you are able to go ahead and take care of your children if you need to, or for some of us, we may have to answer a door or something like that. Who knows? We're all pretty busy, so we understand, but want to make things as easy as possible while you attend this baby shower on tonight. You also will not be able to speak through your cell phones or through your computers. However, we have two options if you have any questions on this evening that you would be able to use. You can either use the chat function, and that will show visibly, what it is that you are asking. But if you would like a more private way to be able to answer or ask any questions that you may have, you can use the Q&A function. And so we will be able to answer you right there live, and you don't necessarily have to put your name out there if you want to ask something that maybe you don't want everyone to know that you are asking. So we're giving those two options. And so my name is Stephanie Moody. I am the Health Equity Coordinator with Count the Kicks with Healthy Birthday. I began my work with Count the Kicks after finding out about the inequities in birth outcomes. And, when it comes to stillbirth rates within the African American community, African Americans have a higher stillbirth rate, and I wanted to do something about it. Well, we were working together with a group called the PMA here in Des Moines, and together we targeted those whose mothers received their support from outside of their obstetricians. So for some, it was a hairdresser. For some, it was a local church. We wanted to go to look for places where we wouldn't normally see a pregnant woman necessarily, the places that they would get their support from. And so while we were working on the CTK campaign, my son and my daughter-in-law became pregnant, and I asked Courtney if she had heard about the Count the Kicks app. And on our due date, Courtney thought that she was in labor, but noticed that Luna just wasn't moving as much. And originally they had told her to drink some water and lay on her left side and to time the contractions. And she was a first-time mom. So there's times when we're first-time moms, we can feel a little anxious about giving birth. But Court decided to go ahead and go into the emergency room because Luna wasn't moving the same as she was prior. So she was able to provide her doctor with data to show that Luna wasn't moving like normal. And they found that there were two health issues that would have prevented Luna from having a healthy birthday. And since then, I've continued sharing my story, empowering women by teaching them the importance of counting as well as tracking their fetal movements. This is my dream job, and I am honored to have you with us all on this evening. And as you can see, this is my Luna here, and she is now 2 years old and also a big sister. And that is my son, Robbie, and my daughter-in-law, Courtney. All right, so our agenda for the evening, we're going to start off with a couple of fun icebreakers, and then we are going to learn about what is Count the Kicks. What is this campaign that I've referred to already? You're going to hear from one of our partners, Amerigroup, and they're going to share about their organization and things that are available to many of you. As well as Mercy, they're going to talk about labor and delivery. HACAP is going to talk about baby basics, safety, as well as WIC. We're going to give some time for question and answer. Again, if you have something that you want to pop into the chat, we'll be glad to take a look at it and answer any questions that you have. But we'll also have a question and answer session at the end. And then, of course, we are going to tell who that awesome winner is of that pack and play that we shared when we sent out the invitations. So let's get started with our first icebreaker. All right. So on your screen, you should see a poll. I thought it would be fun to do a couple of fun icebreakers to get to know a little bit about those who have joined us on tonight. You're going to see that poll pop up on your screen. Just go ahead and answer the question, and then I will share the results. Ooh, got a lot of Team Pink going on here. Couple more left here. Hopefully everyone can see it. All right, as you can see on your screen, Team Pink is in the lead this time. So 44% of us are having pink or girls. And then Team Blue, we've got 5 of us having boys. And then there are 5 who do not know what they are having. All right, so let's go to our next one. Now on this one, you're gonna see 2 questions. Maybe. Whoops. How did we do that? I am really having some fun here. Here we go. All right. The second poll should have launched for you, and you should be able to see that one. Several of us are in our 3rd trimester. And then how have you heard about Count the Kicks? Give everyone a couple seconds more. All right. So the majority of us, it looks like 12 of us are in our 3rd trimester, 5 are in our 2nd trimester, and there's 1 who's still pretty early in their 1st trimester. And many of us have heard about Count the Kicks, 10 of us, but 8 of us have not. So there's the results there. Perfect. Well, thank you for joining in with me on that, on the polls. And so we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. But before I begin the presentation, I always like to start with a feel-good story about a baby saved that was shared on Good Morning America. And on our website, you'll see many others, but this one is about baby Ruby, who was saved when her mother used our free Count the Kicks app. And she was able to share her Count the Kick data with her doctor, letting them know when baby Ruby was in trouble. So let's take a look at this video and see how counting her baby's movement saved her baby's life. Let's take a look at it here.
We're going to turn now to that GMA parenting alert about a free app a mother says helped save her baby's life by tracking how often she kicked. ABC's Diane Macedo is here with that story. What is this all about?
So this mother says that everything was completely normal in her pregnancy until one day, thanks to this app, she noticed that something was off. Well, it turns out her baby was in real trouble.
For Emily and Jeremy Ecoff and 2-year-old Liam,
oh, nice.
Life with their new baby Ruby is extra precious.
We have a healthy baby girl, and we could have had a burial instead.
Ruby is lucky to be alive, and her mom says that's largely thanks to an app. The free app called Count the Kicks aims to prevent stillborn deaths by helping moms record their baby's movements.
You can just tap the baby's footprint every time you feel a movement. A movement could be a kick, a roll, or a jab.
Used at the same time every day, the app tracks how long it takes to reach 10 kicks, helping mom learn what's normal for her baby.
And we also send calendar reminders and text reminders so that moms are reminded to do it once a day in the 3rd trimester.
It's just one of a growing number of apps helping parents through pregnancy and labor. For the Ecoffs, everything was going smoothly until one day last month.
The kicks were not happening as frequently as they usually did. And when she did move, it was really like soft, subtle, not like hard kicks like normal.
Emily knew from the app that her baby normally kicked 10 times in under 10 minutes. So when she only logged 3 kicks in an hour, she rushed to the hospital.
All of a sudden, they came in and said, you're going to have an emergency C-section.
The umbilical cord had wrapped around the baby 3 times, limiting her movement. Doctors delivered Ruby just in the nick of time.
Not only has Ruby been saved, but potential generations have been saved.
She sleeps about 23 hours a day.
4 weeks later, Ruby is now home, healthy, and sleeping like a baby.
Doesn't get much cuter than that. Now, the app was made in Iowa, which is where that family is from, but the creators say it's now spreading nationwide thanks in part to Ruby. Since the news of her birth, the app has gained more than 5,000 new subscribers. So, Robin, the app saved Ruby, and by raising awareness, she may end up saving many more.
All right, as you can see, our Count the Kicks app is a tool that not only empowers expectant parents to speak up when they notice decreased fetal movement, but it also helps to educate them about what their baby's movements are like. That way they can know and they can share that information with their doctors. All right, so let's talk about Healthy Birthday and Count the Kicks. Healthy Birthdays was founded back around in the early 2000s. I'm sorry, not founded, but in the early 2000s, 5 Iowa moms endured the heartache of losing their daughters to stillbirth or infant death. They were connected through friends and pastors, and during many conversations over coffee, the women decided to turn their grief into stillbirth prevention efforts to keep other families from facing the pain of losing a baby. In 2004, they worked with the Iowa legislature to create Iowa's Stillbirth Registry, and it helped to begin collecting that data around stillbirth. Well, after a few years, they attended a public health conference in Norway where they talked about seeing a 30% reduction in stillbirth by teaching pregnant women how to monitor their fetal movement during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy by doing kick counting sessions on a daily basis. So we didn't create kick counting, but we created the tools to help parents to do it. Now, after this conference, they came back inspired by what the research showed, and they birthed Count the Kicks. Count the Kicks is an evidence-based public health awareness campaign, and I'm sure that everyone would agree that stillbirth is not a subject that anyone is excited to talk about. This is why you'll notice when you look at our materials, they are fun, they're bright, they're colorful, they're empowering. This is exactly what the founders wanted. It's mom-focused, educating expectant parents on the importance of tracking fetal movement. And you're able to complete your kick counting session on our free mobile app, or we even have the paper charts for those who may not have access to the mobile app. In 2009, they created Healthy Birthday, Inc., which is the nonprofit organization based in Des Moines, Iowa, which is the headquarters of our Count the Kicks campaign. Now, someone might be asking, is learning about stillbirth still important? Is that something that's really important? Is stillbirth a real concern here in the United States? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Across the United States, approximately 24,000 babies are lost to stillbirth every year. Statistically, that means 1 out of every 169 pregnancies end in stillbirth. Now, for African American moms, that number is even more alarming. It's 1 in 96. Families are 10 times more likely to lose a baby to stillbirth than they are to SIDS. When we ask expectant parents if they've heard about the Back to Sleep campaign, most are able to answer yes. However, when the question is posed regarding counting fetal movement, there are still many who are unaware. Our goal here at Count the Kicks is to save 7,500 babies from preventable stillbirth by educating expectant parents on how to count their babies' fetal movements in the 3rd trimester. At Count the Kicks, we have a laser focus, and we are committed to reducing preventable stillbirth and eliminating disparities. In Iowa, where the campaign started, the stillbirth rate has dropped nearly 32% in 10 years. Counting your baby's kicks, jabs, pokes, rolls is important because a change in movement in the 3rd trimester is often the earliest sign of distress in a baby. When moms know what is normal for their baby, then they are more alert to potential red flags. You're already a great parent, and this is just a simple, free, and easy thing to do. Now, let's talk about using the app. So when you're using the app to count your baby's kicks, it's very simple. It's easy as counting to 10. Once you reach your 3rd trimester, 28 weeks for a normal pregnancy and 26 if you're considered high risk, you want to monitor those kicks daily, preferably at the same time, keeping track of those kicks, the kicks, the pokes, the jabs, and elbows, just to see how long it normally takes for your baby to get to 10 movements. The only thing that we don't count are hiccups because hiccups are involuntary. And after a few days, moms will begin to see a pattern The app is going to show you what the normal amount of time is for your baby to get to 10 movements. Now, keep in mind, every baby is different. Every pregnancy is different. So the key is knowing what is normal for your baby. So for Megan, it may take her child 10 minutes to get to 10 kicks. But for me, it may take 30 minutes to get to 10 kicks. The key again is knowing what is normal for your baby. We also have the ability to track movements with twins. If your baby's normal changes during the 3rd trimester, this could be a sign of potential problems and is an indication that the expectant mom should call your healthcare provider, that you as the expectant mom. So what would be considered a change? You'll want to look at your baby's history in the app to see what their pattern or their trend is. If you notice that it takes baby closer to an hour, when usually it only takes 15 minutes, it's time to call. Your data can also be shared with your provider as well as other family members. So the app itself is free, and I encourage you to go ahead and multitask and download it right now if you'd like. You can go right to the app. It's available on Apple and on Android. Go to your Google Play or your iTunes store and download it. Again, it's free. It's available in 12 different languages. And being a mother of 3 boys, I know what it feels like to be busy. Maybe you're in the middle of a kick counting session and you're potty training your toddler. If you have to, you can always restart a session. Or maybe you accidentally hit the button twice and you recorded 2 kicks. You can delete a kick if you need to. Again, we're mom focused. So many of us are busy, busy, busy all of the time. And for me, pregnancy brain was a real thing, right? So we've created a daily reminder system that tells you when it's time to start your kick counting session again. To get started, all you have to do, sit with your feet up or lie on your side. When you register on the app, it's going to ask you if you would like to count for single babies or for twins. When you choose twins, the kick counting session will include 2 buttons. One button is going to count the movements of baby A, and one button is going to count for baby B. You want to just slide back and forth between the 2 babies as they move, and you want to track their movements. You want to count each of your baby's movements as 1 kick and tap the app button. They look like little baby feet and they're blue until you reach 10 movements for each baby. After a few days, you're going to begin to see a pattern for your babies, how long it takes them to get to 10 movements. Most of the time, it's going to take less than a half hour, but it could take as long as 2 hours. Doctors believe most moms can differentiate between baby B and baby A, but if you have any questions on this, always feel free to ask your doctor. You can save your kick counting sessions in the app to see your baby's movement history. Your kick counting history can be useful for your visits with your provider. It can be useful when you're talking about it with family and friends. And the app will record the amount of time that it took for each baby or the one baby to get to 10 movements. And you log the times into this downloadable Count the Kicks chart. If you don't have a cell phone or you can't access the internet, you can always download that chart. The app will also track future pregnancies so that you don't have to create a new account with each pregnancy. And your account can be managed on multiple devices. I'm happy to announce that as of last week, Count the Kicks app is now available on the Apple smartwatches. So you're also able to include notes as well for each session if you choose. Another new feature that we have is the ability to track the strength of the movements during each session. Research shows that expectant parents should also be paying attention to the strength of their baby's movements. At the end of each kick counting session, expectant parents will be asked to rate the strength of their movement. You can rate your session from fluttery, which are the light movements that are hard to see and maybe a little tougher to feel, to fierce. These are the strong movements where you can visibly see baby moving around and it looks like they're trying to push a limb out of your belly. So you'll be able to rate it, and then you provide those additional notes. Maybe just as it is showing on the screen here, you see baby felt strong like normal. But if something changes, again, always feel free, be empowered to reach out and talk to your doctor. If you still don't feel comfortable, the hospitals are open 24/7. definitely go in and let them check you out. So to see how easy it is to use the app, we're going to watch a quick video that's featuring my niece, Toya, and she is going to share how easy it is for parents to use the Count the Kicks app.
The Count the Kicks app, a cutting-edge, powerful tool for expectant parents in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, has a new feature to help you monitor your baby's movements. The new strength feature allows you to rank the strength of your baby's movements on a scale of 1 to 5, from fluttery to fierce. Research shows paying attention to the strength of your baby's movements is vital. If a baby's movements becomes weaker, studies show this could be a sign of potential problems, and expectant parents should alert their doctor. The free Count the Kicks app now gives you the option to take notes on your session. Our app is available in 12 languages in the Apple and Google Play app stores. It is a simple and non-invasive way to monitor your baby's well-being every day in the 3rd trimester. Features include kick counting history, daily reminders to count, and the ability to count for single babies and twins. Simply tap the footprint every time you feel a kick, roll, or a jab, and the app will time how long it takes your baby to get to 10 movements. Log in to save your kick counting data and get to know what's normal for your baby. Be sure to speak up and tell your doctor if you notice a change in the strength of your baby's movements or how long it takes your baby to get to 10 movements. Hospitals are open 24/7 and are ready to listen to your concerns. Join the community of expectant parents who are in tune with their body and their baby by counting kicks daily in the 3rd trimester. You can also find it on Apple Watch. Download Count the Kicks and start counting today.
You can see it is pretty easy to use our Count the Kicks app, and definitely something that you can utilize to get the entire family involved. Maybe if the baby that you have that's coming has siblings who are already here, they can tap the little foot and be a part of that kick counting session. So sometimes we talk with expectant parents who may not feel that kick counting is necessary. And when we asked why, we found out that there were some common misconceptions as well as some outdated information and practices. So we're gonna go over the misconceptions and we're gonna talk about the truth of what is actually going on. So the first one is baby moves less the closer to their due date. Babies don't move less, they just move differently. You may feel less sharp kicking, more rolling instead. However, if you're monitoring the baby's movements the same time each day, it should take about the same amount of time to feel the 10 movements. If not, speak up. Remember, you are your greatest advocate and you know what and how your baby normally moves. Don't be afraid to speak up and let your provider know when something doesn't feel right. The next one is, my baby is always active. I don't need to count their kicks. It's interesting because I just fielded this actual misconception with a family member of mine. The truth is, active babies can also experience distress sometimes really quickly and without any other warning signs. You want to track your baby's movements every day. Take the guesswork out of knowing what's normal for your baby and when their activity is slowed down. Again, if you notice a change, don't be afraid to speak up. Another misconception is, I hear the baby's heartbeat on a Doppler device, so I don't need to worry about it. The truth is, a change in the baby's heartbeat is one of the last things to occur when a baby is in distress, where decreased fetal movement is an early sign. Think about it. When we don't feel well, we're not up to bouncing around and hanging out with everyone. We move slower or less, and it's the same for the baby while they're in utero. That's why it's so important to track the movements daily and speak up if there's a change. Another misconception, baby is just getting ready for birth and running out of room. The truth is, babies should continue to move up to and during birth. The last misconception is that mom should get 10 kicks in 2 hours. Remember, every baby is different, and you'll want to know what is normal for your baby. If there's a change and you don't feel like your provider is hearing you, follow your instincts just like my daughter-in-law did. Go to the hospital and share your baby's kick counting statistics. Let them see the difference that you've noticed in the average time that it's taken for your baby to get to 10 kicks. It's what my daughter-in-law did, and it saved my granddaughter Luna's life. This concludes my portion of the presentation. Next, I want to share a video from one of our partners, which is Amerigroup Iowa. And it talks about our partnership and why they are so important within our community.
My name is Jeffrey Jones, and I am the plan president for Amerigroup of Iowa. When we first launched in Iowa in 2016, we were very focused on identifying those community partners that had a shared mission. And one of the key components of that mission is improving lives in communities. We work with our expectant members to do things like arrange car seats, food and supplies like diapers for our members, transportation to get to their doctor's visits, and even in some instances, housing as well.
We have a dedicated team of case managers. They are nurses that serve expectant mothers throughout the course of their pregnancy. The intent is really to make sure that those members get all of the services, the resources, the education that they need in order to have a healthy delivery. We support organizations that do that as well.
We're here today to celebrate an organization called Healthy Birthday, and specifically one of their offerings for membership called Count the Kicks, which was a very simple, easy to use and free for expectant mothers, and helps them monitor their third trimester of their pregnancy. It is a life-saving tool.
It is a thrill to be among you today because you are the game changers when it comes to improving the health of moms and babies in Iowa and in our community. Count the Kicks was founded out of grief and out of loss by 5 women here in Iowa who all lost daughters to stillbirth or infant death. We didn't know each other before they lost their daughters, but they were brought together by mutual friends, pastors. So they got to know each other, grieved together for a very long time. And after a while, they looked at each other and said, what are we going to do with this grief? Because we don't want any other families going through what we've gone through.
Our whole world turned upside down. Emma was, her heart was not compatible with life. I knew that I didn't want to become that bitter, angry person that people whispered about. You know, she's that way because she lost a baby. And I knew I had to make good from a devastating situation.
Eventually they found research that showed the importance of tracking fetal movement in the 3rd trimester, and for expectant parents to speak up if they notice a change in what's normal for their baby, and that babies can be saved if expectant parents speak up when they notice a change.
We looked at each other and we said we have to do something in our girl's honor, and that's how we are going to be moms to the girls that we lost.
I know Amerigroup cares about the health of women and babies, and so I was very hopeful that they would want to invest in our campaign and believe in our campaign. And so we were thrilled when they said yes, and on such a fantastic scale. We truly believe that Amerigroup helped contribute to the lowest stillbirth rate on record for the state of Iowa.
The opportunity to have a member come in who was able to take advantage of this program and quite frankly saved her daughter's life. Being able to have them come in and have our associates connect back to, here's the impact you have on our members each and every day. It's a tremendous opportunity in living that mission and journey.
It's a good app, like, you know, it's very detailed, it's bright, it's informative, and it's simple to use.
Knowing what's normal for your baby and the importance of that can make all the difference. I tell my friends, and then my friends tell their family members. It's incredible what it's blossomed into here.
To see these faces, these beautiful faces, and to see the moms who are just beside themselves grateful that their baby is here because of something you've done. I cannot think of any better way to spend your time on earth than to do something like that.
My name is...
Again, I hope that you see why this is my dream job. So next up, we are going to have Lauren, who is with Amerigroup, and she is going to share about the amazing things that Amerigroup has to offer for each and every one of you. Take it away, Lauren.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Renner. I'm a community relations representative with Amerigroup Iowa. You can move to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. Amerigroup Iowa is one of the managed care organizations that provides Medicaid health benefits to the people in Iowa's Medicaid programs. We've been serving members in Iowa since 2016, the beginning of managed care in Iowa. We do cover the entire state of Iowa, but DHS is who determines eligibility. Next slide, please. So to find out if you are eligible for Iowa's Medicaid programs, you can apply online or visit your local DHS office. If you are approved, you will receive notice from the state of Iowa. At that time, you will be assigned one of the 2 managed care organizations. At that point, you'd have up to 90 days to change organizations or stay with the company you were assigned. This choice often leads to questions of why or how would I choose. The first thing that I always recommend is verifying and looking into your provider's network. Essentially, which companies or insurance do your providers accept? You can always use the Find the Doctor tool on our Amerigroup Iowa website or reach out to your provider's office directly. The next piece of advice that I share is for a member to review each company's each company and their value-added benefits or perks. With Amerigroup, our members have access to many different perks or value-added benefits, and these are the items I'm so excited to share with you this evening. Next slide, please. So Healthy Rewards is my favorite perk to share about. The Healthy Rewards program is simply a debit card incentive program. Our members can earn dollars for completing certain healthy activities or appointments. Our pregnant members, new moms, and babies have great opportunity to earn funds. Next slide. To start earning reward dollars, our members must be enrolled in the Healthy Rewards program. So our members can simply enroll by calling to member services, calling directly to the Healthy Rewards team, or visiting the Benefits Reward Hub within the secure member portal on our website. So on your screen, you can see the phone number and link to the hub, but I'm going to be sure to paste all of these phone numbers, links, web addresses for you in the chat at the end of the presentation if you don't get a chance to note them down while I'm on the screen. You can move to the next slide. The Benefits Reward Hub is what you are seeing on your screen now. This is what a member would see after they log in and enroll in the Healthy Rewards program. Once enrolled, our members can earn funds for health visits and activities. Some examples that may be applicable to all of you on the call this evening are the prenatal and postpartum check can combine earn $75. Taking the new babe to all of those wellness visits that first year earn an additional $50. All of our members completing their health risk questionnaire, so a survey about your current health, earns $25 annually. And then going to that annual wellness checkup is another $25 per member. So just with that quick sampling, I'm sure you can see there's quite a variety of options for our members to earn funds. And those are just some really good examples for moms and babies, but there are a lot more opportunities beyond that. All eligible activities will be loaded into these fields or pods, the little rectangles you see on the screen, showing the eligible activity and the dollar amount. So this will show you what you are eligible for and what you still have the opportunity to earn funds for completing. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the balance. So on this sample account, it has not yet earned any funds, but if they were to complete their annual wellness check, for example, that claim would auto load that $25 into that account. All of the reward dollars are automatically loaded onto your account once the claim is in our system, with exception to the prenatal and postpartum check that do require that self-report by calling into the Healthy Rewards line. Those reward dollars can then be redeemed for gift cards, which I'll show on the next slide. Thank you. So here are some examples of the retailers that you can select to receive gift cards from. You can also select a physical gift card or a digital e-gift card for immediate access. One of my favorites is the Amazon option. I love that convenience of having my favorite items delivered right to the door. These are always subject to change, especially as new retailers become available. We are currently in the process of adding the new offering of the Bye Bye Baby store. So if you are a member and enrolled in the program, keep an eye out on your portal. Next slide, please. The other perk I wanted to share tonight is new for 2021. All Amerigroup Iowa pregnant members, or those that have delivered in the past 6 months, are eligible for the dual electric breast pump. Members can access this perk by calling into Medline directly, which I will also provide that number, or by going to the Medline portal to make that request. You can go to the next slide, please. To order online, members will simply create and activate their account on the Medline site. As you can see, members will need their member ID and date of birth to create their account, and then it's just like you're shopping online. Next slide, please. On your screen, you can see the image of the Medline Deluxe Electric Breast Pump Kit. It comes with the tote bag, breast shields, bottles, bottle supplies, cooler bag, 2 ice packs, a battery adapter, and then most importantly, the pump itself. You can move to the next slide. When a member logs on to the online ordering option, this is the screen that they will land on. So you simply add the pump to your cart and check out. We can see more of that process on the next slide. So the member's address will be automatically loaded into the site that pulls over from our system for easy checkout, but a member can't update or alter that address if they prefer it to be shipped somewhere else. The breast pumps are traditionally mailed out within 1 to 2 days of placing that order, and it's really that simple. Members can always call into the phone line to order over the phone with assistance from a Medline representative. But I do also want to note that members have the right to request the pump at their convenience once they're noted as pregnant in our system. But please keep in mind that the 1-year warranty from the manufacturer does start from that ship date. So some may suggest waiting closer to due date to make that request, but is a completely personal choice. So I hope this benefit is exciting for you, and we are very excited to be the first Medicaid managed care organization to offer this benefit in Iowa, and I hope it's a benefit to all of you. Next slide, please. So this is the Pregnancy and Beyond resource guide that is sent out to our members. It is also available on our website and has a lot of great information. The Taking Care of Baby and Me program is Amerigroup Iowa's care coordination program for pregnant members. It's very important to see your primary care provider or OBGYN for care when you're pregnant. Amerigroup also has OB high-risk case management programs to help our pregnant members with any complicated healthcare needs. Our high-risk OB case managers provide support to pregnant members who are considered high risk and are at least 35 weeks or less. The goal of the program is to provide that one-on-one support to ensure that pregnant women have access to the appropriate care and other resources needed to have a complete and healthy pregnancy. Our nurse case managers will collaborate with your providers to ensure you're getting appropriate care, medication, medical supplies, and any additional consultations needed. They can also help make referrals to local community resources that we'll hear from this evening, and they truly are a trusted resource and connection. Additionally, we have case managers for babies and families that are in the NICU. The NICU case management program is designed to help parents cope with the day-to-day stress, teach them about staying involved in the care for their babies, and help prepare themselves in their home for discharge. Those case managers will once again help with education, resources, and referrals to help prevent that baby from being readmitted to the hospital. We do have brief care coordination programs that are offered to low-risk pregnant women, women greater than 35 weeks gestation, and postpartum moms if other services are needed. So if any of these case management programs are something that you feel that you need, please feel free to contact our member services team directly or talk with your provider who can always make that referral into the health plan. Next slide, please. Here on your screen, you can see inside of that resource guide, more information and resources that are shared, ultimately to help keep you and your baby healthy. Next slide, please. And a few final pieces to mention this evening is that on our Amerigroup website, we have a resource page for our pregnant members. Housed here are internal resources and external partnerships and much more. This can be accessed by anyone, not just our members. It is also worth mentioning that our Medicaid members can receive mileage reimbursement or transportation to any of their medically necessary appointments. And as I'm sure all of you are finding out now or already knew, there are a lot of appointments when you are expecting. Another piece that I like to call out is our 24-hour nurse line. So there are a lot of other resources, phone numbers, and information available on our website. So please, if you are a member, log on to your portal, or anyone can access our website as well. Next slide, please. And I ultimately want to express my sincere gratitude for your time to be able to share with you tonight. Congratulations in advance. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to drop them in the chat box and I will do my best to answer. Like I said, I'll also be sharing the website's phone numbers that I discussed in the chat for all of you to see as well. So once again, congratulations and thank you so much. I'm now going to pass over the mic to Mercy Birthplace.
Hello, I'm Tasia. I am a labor and delivery nurse here at Mercy, and I'm also our educator for the Birthplace. And my name is Angela, and I'm the program coordinator for the Birthplace, NICU, and Pediatrics. First of all, we want to welcome you tonight, and we want to say thank you for joining us, and congratulations. We know this is an exciting time in your lives, but we also know that that comes with a lot of questions. So hopefully the information we're going to share with you tonight will answer some of those questions for you. Okay, so if you can go to the next slide, please. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about stages of labor. We're going to talk about some pain management in labor and kind of what you can expect if you deliver here with us. So our first stage of labor is basically your cervix getting to completely effaced and dilated. The second stage of labor is pushing and ends with delivery of your baby. Third stage of labor is delivery of the baby to delivery of the placenta. And then your fourth stage of labor is basically your body returning to normal, which is going to take several weeks and you won't be in the hospital the whole time. Next slide, please. Then we also divide the first stage of labor into 3 phases: early labor, active labor, and transition. And these are probably things you've heard about before. Early labor, generally 0 to 3-ish centimeters dilated. And most of our moms are at home at that time. You're more comfortable at home. You can do what you want. You can eat what you want. Then you'll go into active labor, and that's from 4 centimeters to approximately 7 centimeters dilated. And then transition, I feel like that's the part that should be in all caps and bold. That's the part you see on TV where moms are throwing punches and dropping swears and all sorts of things like that. That's from 7 to 10 centimeters. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, most of our moms are at home during that early phase of labor because you know what's best for you. You are also more comfortable at home. Some of the comfort measures that we recommend are showers, tub baths. A lot of moms tell me that water is what got them through the beginning part of their labor. It didn't take their pain away completely, but they could relax better and cope better with their discomfort. Massage is another great option. Even if your labor partner doesn't feel comfortable doing massages, there's different things you can get. Some people will bring in those little wooden massagers that look like little balls. Had people who will bring tennis balls tied in a sock, and then your partner can just roll them up and down your back. And it doesn't have to be anything major. Some people find just a hand massage or a foot massage to be really relaxing. The rocking chair, that's a different kind of motion. Some people find that swaying motion to be comforting. Walking versus rest. So we definitely encourage our moms to be getting up and moving and changing position. We actually recommend that you change position and switch up your activities about every 20 to 30 minutes, and you'll actually have better pain control that way. But If you're in really early labor, your contractions are irregular, maybe they're only 15 to 20 minutes apart, and it's the middle of the night, I would encourage you to rest because you might be able to doze off in between those contractions. And later on, when you're in active labor, you're going to be a lot more uncomfortable, and it's really hard to cope with pain if you're already exhausted. Aromatherapy is another great option that's been very popular with our patients recently. Here at the birthplace, we do have diffusers available. We provide lavender essential oils, but you can bring in your own oils or oil blends if you would like. And you can also bring in your own diffuser. Next slide, please. Some other options that we have available that you may have heard of, the birthing ball. As you can see from that top photo there, that's a birthing ball. It's basically a big, huge exercise ball. So we have a few of those for our patients to use here. Most moms will sit on it, and it gets you into a squatting position, which helps to open up your pelvis. It makes more space for the baby, more room for the baby to come down. And if you're having back labor, so you're feeling your contractions more in your back than in your belly, it can help take a lot of the pressure off of your back. So a lot of moms find those to be really useful. Same with the peanut ball. So there's a picture there of some different peanut balls. We actually have 5 different sizes here at the birthplace, and we bring whatever size works best for the mom's height. That's how we decide what size to use. They can be used just while you're in labor. We tend to use them most often with our moms who have epidurals. We would tuck that in between her legs, and it helps mom be in that squatting position, but laying down in bed rather than being up and around, because when you have an epidural, your legs are numb. So I have listed there in the slide some YouTube videos that I encourage our pregnant moms to look at. Using the peanut ball by your birth is a video that was put together by a doula, and she has a pregnant mom demonstrating different positions that you can use the peanut ball in. And then the other one, using the peanut ball during labor and delivery, that actually comes from Mercy Hospital in Des Moines, and they're demonstrating different positions that are epidural specific. Now, I do want to say too, if you have your own items that you want to bring in, we definitely recommend that you do that. If you're particularly tall, or maybe you're petite, and you have your own exercise ball that fits your body, you have your own peanut ball, feel free to bring those in with you. That's definitely an option and encouraged. Next slide, please. So moving into the active phase of labor, this is when we call it active because you're contracting more regularly, your cervix is changing faster, and this is probably when you're going to be thinking about coming to the hospital. So mom's reaction, these are things that we kind of watch for. No longer able to walk or talk through your contractions. That's a good sign that things are getting serious. If you're working hard, you're more inwardly focused, you're selectively attentive, so you're not paying as much attention to what's around you. Quiet and serious, no longer in a joking mood. So if there's any labor support people out there, this is not the time to crack jokes. She will not appreciate it. However, jot those things down because they're still going to be funny later, and she probably won't remember. So it's always kind of entertaining. But one of the things that I watch for with our moms is I watch their eyebrows. They get a crease in between their eyebrows when they're moving into active labor. I also see hands in fists, toes curled. Those are all signs to me that moms are getting more uncomfortable with their contractions and things are really getting serious. Our moms in active labor tend to rely more heavily on their support people. And if you're not already at the hospital, you're thinking you want to get to the hospital. Okay, next slide, please. So when you get to the hospital, we will do fetal monitoring. As far as whether it's continuous or intermittent, that varies based on the patient and your own situation and also physician preference. We usually use external monitors. So we've got a couple different styles as you can see on the slide. So the one on the left is your typical external monitors where we use an ultrasound. That's the blue flat circle that's lower on her belly. We use an ultrasound to get her baby's heart rate, and then the contraction monitor is the other one, the Toco. The other option that we have is the Monica Wireless. Monica is the brand name, so if you're using the wireless monitoring when you're here and you hear your nurse talking about the Monica, she's talking about the wireless. It's not a nickname for you or the name of another staff member. But as you can see from that picture on the right, it has little electrodes that just stick on your tummy, and then that blue pack in the middle is the battery, and it also communicates with the monitor. So that's another great option. We use that a lot with our moms that would prefer to be up and moving, because then we can still monitor the baby, but you don't have to be attached to a monitor. You can be moving around your room. You can even walk partway up and down the hall before it loses its signal. Next slide, please. So moving on to pain management in labor. So generally that's kind of what, if you're getting uncomfortable, you're in active labor, you're starting to think, okay, how am I going to deal with this pain? So you have 3 options for pain relief. The first thing is non-medicated. So the comfort measures that we talked about just a little bit ago. So position changes, walking, water, massage, those kinds of things. It's completely safe for both mom and baby because there's no exposure to medications. And you do have a pretty quick postpartum recovery. We also have IV pain medication available. Fentanyl is what's most commonly used. It doesn't take your pain completely away, but it helps to take the edge off so that you can relax more. We tend to want to time that so that we're not giving a dose right before you deliver. So generally about 8 centimeters or so is when your window is closing for the IV pain medicine. But that said, before we move on to epidurals, I just want to mention too that especially for our first time moms, we encourage you to just be open, see how things go, because it may be less painful than you were anticipating. It might be more painful than you anticipate. And so you can kind of mix and match. So a lot of our moms will try non-medicated comfort measures, and then, okay, later on they're more uncomfortable, or maybe they're tired and they're just kind of running out of steam. They want to try a dose of IV pain medicine. Totally fine. And then if you want to get an epidural, that's okay too. We are here to support what you would prefer. So next slide, please. There we go. Okay, so just a little bit about epidurals. I have a couple pictures there. The one on the left is showing the positioning that we have moms sit in while they're having the epidural placed. It's a really slouchy posture. You curl around your baby. And what that does is it helps open up the spaces in your back so that the anesthesiologist can place the epidural more easily. They place a fairly large needle first. If you don't like needles, don't look. And then once they've got that needle in the right spot, they thread a little tiny catheter through it. And that's what the picture is on the right. That's a picture of that teeny tiny catheter. It's smaller even than the IVs that we place. And that's what stays in your back. We hook you up to a pump so that you keep getting medicine until you deliver. And we keep that pump running after delivery for if you needed to have any stitches, any repair done. And after that point, then we'll turn the pump off and we'll take your epidural out after delivery is all completed. Next slide, please. So another thing that a lot of our parents have questions about is positions for pushing. So I have a sampling there of some different positions. The one that you see on the bottom left, that's kind of the traditional way that people push. And we'll have moms that start out in that position, but then we mix it up because we want to try and get your baby into the optimal position for delivery. Sometimes they need to rotate a little bit. And if we change your position, that will help the baby to move down faster. But that bottom left picture is also generally what we do for delivery. That's easier for the doctor to get in there and deliver the baby. So that's typically how you're going to deliver, but not necessarily. We have some moms that deliver in a side lying position like that picture on the bottom left. We can also do squatting. So the picture on the top left is showing someone who's squatting at the side of the bed. All of our beds we can attach a squat bar to as well. So that goes across the top of the bed. And then you would hold on to it and you can squat and push that way too. I see a question there that popped up. Someone is asking, can we get both IV pain medicine and an epidural, or is it just one or the other? And it's definitely, you can have both. A lot of our moms will get a dose or two of the IV pain medicine and then get their epidural. I have other moms who decide, nope, I'm ready to get an epidural. But then it turns out the anesthesiologist is taking a little longer than we expect. So they get a dose of the IV fentanyl to tide them over till the doctor comes. So you can kind of mix and match in some ways. Are there any other questions out there regarding pain management? That was the only one that I saw pop up, but I didn't know, Stephanie, if you saw any others that came through. Okay, then we'll move on. Next slide, please.
Nope, we are good.
Okay.
I'm watching the chat. Okay.
Sterile water injections, I have not seen that. Typically when they're placing the epidural, they may put a little bit of sterile water into the needle before they place the catheter to help expand that space, and it makes it easier to place the catheter. But I've never had them use that as specifically a pain control measure. I have heard of it, but it's not something that we do here. Okay, you can move to the next slide. So I just wanted to talk just a smidge about delivery of your baby. So the head is going to deliver first, and as that head's delivering, you may feel that ring of fire. So especially if you don't have an epidural, basically that's the sensation of your perineum stretching to accommodate your baby coming through. If you do have an epidural, you will still feel things at delivery, but typically it's not that painful. You're feeling more pressure discomfort as the baby's head is getting lower. So after your baby's head delivers, your doctor will actually have you pause for a second and not push, and they'll check to see if there's an umbilical cord around the baby's neck. If there is, they'll get that out of the way, and then they'll tell you when they want you to push again. Once the shoulders come out, the rest of the body comes very easily. And as you can see from that picture, our preferred place to put that baby is right up on your chest after delivery. Babies love to be skin to skin with their mothers. Excuse me, they have heard your heartbeat, heard your breathing, heard you talk their entire life. And so that's a very comforting place for them to be. So as you can see, we dry the baby off once baby's up on your belly, and that's because things that are wet get cold faster, but you are a fabulous heater for your child. So we get those wet blankets out of the way, and then we'll put baby skin to skin with you and blanket over the top. And that also helps with baby's transition from before delivery to after delivery, when now they have to do all the breathing for themselves because they don't have a placenta. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to talk just briefly a little bit about NICU in case your baby needs some special care, and I'm going to turn it over to Angela.
Hi, so I do give the tours of the birth suites where you do deliver and labor in the same room. We also are 100% NICU equipped, which is very amazing for this area. We have 1 in 10 hospitals in the United States that are equipped with NICU right in the room. Our patient and family-centered approach improves safety and allows parents to stay with their newborns. What that means for you is if your baby would need some specialized care, your baby will stay in the room and you will stay with the baby until the baby goes home. That's very comforting for a lot of families, is what we're told, and so we're super excited to offer that. I also want to say that our birth suites offer many amenities. Some of them are jacuzzi tub right in the bathrooms, 24/7 room service, so 24 hours, 7 days a week, we can bring room service right to your room. We have warm cookies and milk every afternoon. That's a lot of parents' favorite. Yes, it is. We have a couch that pulls out into a double bed for your birthing partner. And if you would like a read photography photo shoot for your baby, we offer that as well. We will also take that photo shoot, that picture of your baby, and we can put it on our birthday billboard, which is located right by Coe College. So those are some of the things that you would find at the Mercy Birthplace. We really would love you to come in and tour it. I would love to meet you and show you around. And next slide, please. So if you would like to have a personal tour, all you have to do is go on the website. You can sign up if there's a schedule conflict, or you would like a weekend or an evening tour. Just give me a call. I'm very flexible. I can fit you in to whatever your schedule and whatever works for your schedule.
Okay, so before we turn it over to Lori, I'm going to quick open up the chat because I saw a couple other questions come through. Okay, so we had a question about delayed cord clamping, and yes, we do that. That is a routine thing here, unless your baby looks like he or she needs resuscitation. Then we would clamp the cord right away. But routinely, it's generally we wait about 1 minute to 2 minutes before we cut the cord. If you have a preference and you want it longer, then you can talk with your doctor about that. But our routine is generally about 1 minute to 2 minutes, and then we'll cut the cord. Does anybody have any other questions before we pass it over to Lori? Okay, well, if you think of anything, we'll stay on through the end because I saw that there's a part of the end part where we'll have some question and answer time. Otherwise, you can always contact Angela either through the website or you can give her a call. She knows how to get a hold of me too. We also offer approximately every other week Zoom calls. So if you wanted to ask questions in a virtual way, you can do that. We also have childbirth education classes available as well.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, wait, one more question. Okay, we got one more. So, no, you do not have to tour in order to give birth at Mercy. You can certainly just show up. I do encourage you to hop on the website. You can pre-register, which will then put all of your contact information, all your insurance information in the computer. So when you come, we'll just have you double check to make sure we got everything in there right. You will need to provide a photo ID so that we know that you are who you say you are, and your insurance card will get that scanned in. But otherwise, the rest of your contact information will be in there. I do kind of encourage you to take a tour though, because she gives out freebies.
So if you can't come to a tour or for some reason you don't want to do it in person, I can also FaceTime you and we can do a virtual tour that way as well.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. Congratulations in advance, and we do look forward to meeting you. We're going to turn it over to Lori Jasper, who's from HACAP.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to have you here, and thank you for having me, Stephanie and Lauren. Now that you have talked about touring the hospital, you have gotten information on counting your baby's kicks or movements, you've made sure you have insurance, you've got some information on labor and delivery and the birth of the baby. So now we're going to go right into baby basics. Go ahead and change the slide, please. Just a quick introduction about myself. I think sometimes when you hear HACAP, and first of all, HACAP is a nonprofit organization. We have a lot of services, and I'll talk about them a little bit further on in my presentation. HACAP stands for Hawkeye Area Community Action Program. I have been here for about 6 years now, and prior to that, I worked at Mercy Hospital, actually, for close to 30 years with Cassia, and did a little bit of everything. I worked on obstetrics, childbirth educator, worked in nursery and postpartum, assisted with C-sections, and also did birthplace home visits, and still I'm a lactation consultant and nurse. I'm the mother of my 3 sons. I have 2 that are older, 34 and 31, and then we have our little miracle surprise baby who is now 16. So it's wonderful to have children, and also even better to be a grandmother and have 2 grandchildren. So next slide, please. So your pregnancy, just real briefly, you're preparing for labor and delivery. Cassia did an excellent job talking about labor and delivery and pain management. And now we'll talk about preparing for your baby. I do encourage you to go to the classes at either one of the hospitals here in Cedar Rapids, and just get the knowledge that you may need, definitely need to know what to expect, not only during labor and delivery, but postpartum as well. And you may be feeling right now that maybe there's some fears or fears of the unknown, or fear of what the pain's going to feel like, but you're also excited and anticipating what's going to happen and seeing that beautiful baby boy or baby girl. Next slide, please. And what is your baby going to look like? It looks like the majority of you are having baby girls, but also some boys in that picture too. Is that baby going to have mommy's eyes, daddy's nose, gonna have a lot of dark black hair, or maybe more blonde or no hair at all. My 3 sons actually had very little hair. I had terrible heartburn though, but I guess that myth didn't come to fruition. Usually a lot of hair, you're supposed to have heartburn, and my babies had little hair. But it's always exciting and anticipation of seeing that little one and what they're gonna look like. Next slide, please. So preparing for your baby, we're gonna be talking tonight about safe sleep environment, car seat safety, feeding options, whether you choose to breastfeed or formula feed, bathing your baby and umbilical cord care, checking your baby's temperature, when to call your physician or family doctor, pediatrician, appropriate temperature in your home and how to clothe your baby, and the period of purple crying. Next slide, please. Safe sleep environment. Sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, is a leading cause of death for infants in the United States up to 1 year of age. In 2016, the American Academy of Pediatrics updated their national guidelines to reduce SIDS and other sleep-related deaths. And we also have a Linn County Safe Sleep Task Force, which supports AAP guidelines. I attend those meetings on a regular basis and actually do some of those classes. And really, it's research-based best practices. Next slide, please. We always think about ABCs when we think about safe sleep practices. A is alone, always lay baby on their back. B is for back. Back to sleep for naps and at night. So A is for alone, B is for back, and C is in a crib. It doesn't need to be a crib. If a bassinet or a pack and play, anything that has a firm mattress and a fitted sheet. Keep all soft objects, toys, crib bumper pads, and any loose bedding out of the sleep area. Dress your baby in a sleeper like that picture previously on the other slide. It can be a sleep sack just with a zipper. You don't have to put a lot of clothes on that baby underneath that sleep sack. Just a light onesie is fine. They should stay nice and toasty warm. We'll talk about the temperature of the room or the house in just a few minutes. There is a lot of different products out there, so please don't go crazy that you feel like you have to buy everything. Just keep it simple. You know, maybe a couple newborns to 6 months or 6 months to a year. You know, there's different sizes for sleep sacks. I like that picture before because you have the arms that are outside. We don't have to bundle our babies like a baby burrito constantly. Some babies right away, even in the newborn nursery, you can see they don't always like that. They're getting their little fingers out and like to suck on their fists or hands. So just know that you don't have to bundle them. Just make sure they're in a safe environment with a potential sleep sack. You may want to keep the baby crib or pack and play or bassinet in your room. We call it room sharing, not bed sharing. And most of all, too, do not smoke during pregnancy, and don't smoke or allow anyone else to smoke around your baby. So secondhand smoke and thirdhand smoke too. There are Quitline, Iowa information that we provide a lot at HACAP. Also talk to your doctors about smoking cessation options. Next slide, please. So more on safe sleep. Feed your baby breast milk if at all possible for at least the first 2 months or longer. Give your baby a pacifier for naps and at bedtime. That is actually an American Academy of Pediatrics guideline. It really has to do with baby being able to suckle on something. It reminds baby's heart to keep on beating and actual baby to take breaths. Don't force it though. If baby doesn't want it, that's fine. Do not let your baby get too hot when sleeping. So keep the room temperature or the house temperature between 68 and 72 degrees. Your baby should also receive all vaccinations and immunizations on the regular health checkups. And you will get that information when you go to your first doctor's appointment, and usually with a pediatrician, that's at 1 to 2 weeks postpartum. They should be giving you the immunization card, a little flyer that's a just a fold. This is an example that maybe not see that one quite as well, but it really just talks about the immunizations that your baby will be having at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And just a heads up, your baby is either going to be very irritable after these immunizations or very sleepy for a few hours afterwards. I always encourage moms and my patients and clients to buy the Tylenol drops, infant Tylenol drops, so that you have that in your bag. That way, after your baby gets the shots in the clinic, you can have those available, and your doctor's going to give you some information as well on how much to give your baby. And that's just going to help with the pain. You know, that they get like 2 or 3 shots that first time. Some of those are in the same the syringe, so it's not 6 shots. It's going to be 2 or 3 shots that are given in the thigh, and the Tylenol is just going to help that area not be so touchy. Tummy time is important, but only when baby is awake and you are awake. So tummy time is not sleep time. It's only when baby is awake that you can watch baby. Sometimes it starts after delivery and the first weeks at home by putting baby on your chest or daddy's chest or grandma and grandpa's chest, and letting that baby start to lift their head or his or her head. And that's a good way to start it. And then as baby gets older, you can put a clean blanket on the floor as long as it's a safe place, and put some toys down there. Babies like black and white colors, the contrast in colors. I shouldn't say necessarily black and white, but a lot of those developmental toys are black and white because it's a definite black, very strong, and then there's a white. It could be very easily a dark green or a dark blue as well, but they like the contrast in colors. Any toys like that are wonderful, or a little mirror for baby to look at. That's just helping them develop their muscles in their neck and their shoulders and their arms and legs as they get bigger. Next slide, please. So unsafe practices include the following. What I think is always challenging for myself as when I was a mom with younger kids, as well as just anybody that's pregnant and or has small children, is that there's so many of these products being sold yet, you know, out in the stores. There's wedges, there's bumper pads, there's baby boxes, in-bed co-sleeping, so many different types of those. Our state of Iowa doesn't have any bills or laws that I'm aware of at this point that has outlawed them, if you will. Maryland was a place that outlawed bumper pads. Once again, that's a lack of a better term. In the sense that the manufacturers can't sell them or make them there. I wish that was true of all these devices that were unsafe for our babies, because when they're out there at the stores, I think we feel and assume that they're safe, and they're not. So do not use the wedges or positioners. We want baby to, once again, to lay on his or her back to sleep. Side sleeping and positioning are not advised for sleeping. Bumper pads and mesh bumpers too, those, please avoid those. They can get caught in between the crib and maybe the wall, and these pads are mesh bumpers and can suffocate or cause entrapment or strangulation. Baby boxes, seems like a couple years ago there was like baby boxes everywhere, and there would be bundles, like the box, it's just like a cardboard box, but heavier, more like plywood, I guess, a little bit heavier. They were sold as something that was good for babies to sleep in. According to our Linn County Safe Sleeps Coalition task force, we did not recommend those, and they're not recommended by AAP as well. In-bed co-sleepers are not evidence-based as being safe either. And room sharing, once again, without bed sharing, decreases the risk of SIDS by as much as 50%. So that's quite a bit. And there's lots of good information. I'm sorry, I should have said this earlier. So some of my resources or links that you can go to if you want to take a picture with your phone or on the bottom of each slide. University of Iowa Stead Children's Hospital has some good information on safe sleep practices, as well as the spsc.gov website on consumer products that are called back, like car seats, cribs, etc. So please do look at those resources at the bottom of each page. Next slide, please. So there are some products that are out there that are not recommended for sleep, and one of them is the Rock and Play. Now, that's not to say you can't use it when baby is awake and you are with baby in the same room, because I think they do tend to like them because they're nice and snug and they have the boundaries around them. But you can see that it's very soft, it's not flat, it doesn't have a firm mattress. So please do not use this for letting your baby sleep. Next slide, please. There's also the elephant pillow. We don't want anything soft surrounding baby. That includes pillows, that includes big comforters, water beds. I don't think there's too many water beds around anymore, but nothing soft and cushy around baby. And once again, this shows that baby's laying on the side, which is not recommended for sleeping. Next slide, please. The Babacush is not recommended either. You can see this baby it's pretty high up too. So if there was any faulty straps on that, I think that could be a real issue with baby falling off. But the key thing, once again, is baby is laying on his or her stomach, not on the back. That is a soft, comfy cushion again. So not recommended for sleep. Next slide, please. And there's a lot of different devices that are co-sleepers in bed with mommy and daddy, and that's not recommended by AAP. Dock and Tot is one of them. And the key thing with those, I think just the concern that mom or dad's gonna roll over still. And look how baby's kind of cushioned in there again. You have a soft blanket around baby. And I don't know by looking at this picture, and I've never seen one up front, is if that's really soft or that's a firmer one. But anyway, need to be back alone on their back in a crib with a firm mattress and fitted sheet. Next slide, please. Okay, we'll move on to any questions about that so far? Anything that I shared?
There is a question regarding AAP recommending exclusive breastfeeding for at least months and then as long as mom and baby desire. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, that is very true. That is very true. A minimum of 2 months, that is just, yeah, that is way conservative, right? It really is. The guidelines are 6 months up to a year, or according to mom and baby's choice. Yes, good point. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, anything else in regards to safe sleep practices?
There were no other questions that came through the chat or through the Q&A at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to car seat safety then. I encourage you to purchase a car seat during your pregnancy, and preferably, you know I work in the WIC clinic, so I work with a lot of low-income single moms. So they really have to, like all of us, we have to save up for car seats. They seem to be getting more and more expensive. And to get a good one, it seems like those prices are skyrocketing. So sometimes it works well to wait to the end of the second trimester or into the third trimester to get that car seat. Oftentimes I find moms have baby showers, so they're a really nice gift as well to put on that gift registry. We do have some places in Cedar Rapids that help with car seats too, if you're having some challenges with purchasing one. Birthright in Cedar Rapids, I can make a referral to that agency. They're off Collins Road on the northeast side. I'm sorry, my train of thought. I'm looking at the question. I'll get to that question in just a second. Birthright has a $60 gift card for a car seat only at Walmart only. I can make a referral to that agency by giving the mother's name and telephone number if they're a WIC client. There's other agencies that can help too. So if you're part of Bridgehaven or YPN or doctor's office or Eastern Iowa Women's Health Center, if you're one of their patients, a lot of other agencies can make that referral, but that's available. There also is a Safe Kids Coalition that can help with a car seat if everything else did not work for you. Bridgehaven has classes, and I believe most of the agencies now are doing some of those classes back in person, but I always remind moms to make that call to us to make that initial appointment with these agencies and see what their protocol is, if it has changed or not. So Bridgehaven, if you attend so many classes within a session, you get either a car seat or crib, okay? And yes, I think there was a comment about making sure if a friend or somebody wants to give you a car seat, make sure that it's not older than 5 years of age, and make sure it was not in a car accident. Okay, so that's almost better to go ahead and purchase one, because sometimes, I don't know, each car accident's different, but definitely a car accident at all, whether anybody was hurt or not, or the damage on the car, the person that's using that car seat should get rid of it, not give it to somebody else. Follow the AAP guidelines on that, on the car seats, when to use them and what ages. You can check the car seat manufacturer or U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission for any recalls before purchasing. And that was that .gov website that I'd given you on the previous slide. I always encourage moms to read, and dads to read that car seat manual and make sure that the car seat fits in your car properly. Car seats are also different. Cars are also different. So make sure you know how to change the straps from the smaller position with a newborn all the way up to the toddler size, and how to take it apart and clean it and all those things. So make sure you know how to use that. Angela, did you also take a car seat certification class? I'm not sure what it's called now. Are you still on, Angela?
I'm sorry, yes, I am. And no, I have not.
Okay, all right.
I'm looking into that.
Yes.
But Cassia is with me and she knows quite a bit about it, so.
Yes, okay. And I was thinking both hospitals in this area have someone that has that background or certification to help the moms with car seats safety before they leave the hospital. Is that still true for Mercy?
Yes, our nurses will check the straps and make sure that they're snug. We are not to place bases in the car or check on those kinds of things, simply because we're not all certified. But we definitely check the straps and make sure the baby is in there correctly and the straps are adjusted right. We don't want them to be too loose. And we talk as well, and especially in wintertime, about what proper clothing is for the baby, because you don't want to put your baby in a snowsuit and then put them in the car seat, because you're not going to be able to get those straps tight enough. So you put baby in their normal clothes in the car seat, tighten up the straps, and then blankets and a hat on your baby.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
So just always know you have the experts out there and ask your questions to anybody at your clinic, your doctor's office, or in the hospital. There really are nurses and different staff that have that certification that can actually put the hands on the car seat, and other ones that have some training but not quite as much. And the other thing I think to follow through with that is, we want you to be able to, as moms and dads and grandparents, know how to put that car seat in the car and tighten that up as well. And you guys are the last ones to touch that car seat in the car. Okay. And McGrath does still have the car seat safety checks on the second Thursday of each month at the McGrath Auto Dealership in Cedar Rapids. And I believe it's still 5:15 to 7 o'clock. But please, I always just tell my clients to make sure that they call that number to schedule an appointment and make sure that nothing has changed. It's a really good resource. Next slide, please. All right, so AAP guidelines, all infants and toddlers should ride in a rear-facing car seat as long as possible or until they reach the highest weight and or height allowance set by the manufacturer. Most of the time that is 1 year of age and 20 pounds, but I've also heard it go up to 2 years, 20 pounds and 2. Just depends on the size of the child. Okay, at what age? Sometimes we got the little tiny petite little kids, and sometimes we have kids that grow a little bit faster and grow out of that seat a little bit sooner. All children who have outgrown the rear-facing weight or height limit should use a forward-facing car seat with a harness for as long as possible up to the highest weight or height allowed. All children whose weight or height is above the forward-facing limit should use a belt positioning booster seat until the vehicle lap and shoulder seat fits them the best or properly. This typically occurs when the child reaches 4 feet 9 inches. Oh, and you want to go back. Thank you. Oops. We need to go back to the slide with the car seat, please. Now you get to see all the information. Did we need to be done by 8 o'clock? Okay, I will keep on moving along here, ladies, and please.
Fine. Go ahead and finish. Yeah.
Okay, please, all participants, make sure that you put all your questions in the chat. That would be great. So the child, so most of those constraints or the booster seats go up to 4 feet 9 or 8 to 12 years of age. And all children under the age of 13 should be restrained in the back seat, okay? Making sure that that is the safest place for our children to be, in the back seat, not in the front seat, especially with any of the the bags, the safety bags that would come out of the dash or side of the doors. Okay, that's why we don't want them in the front. Next slide, please. I'll keep on moving along. Feeding options, it's really individual choice. There are benefits to breastfeeding for mother and infant, such as the antibodies. We have the DHA and ARA that's in our milk, breast milk versus formula. Even though formula companies will put that on all their labels, they have little minute amount compared to what we have in our breast milk. I think it's key to have the support from your loved ones, significant others, friends, family, whichever choice you make, whether it's breastfeeding or giving formula per bottle. Paced bottle feeding, I would encourage you to look that up on YouTube video. Dr. Jack Newman, Nancy Moorbacher has a paced bottle feeding YouTube videos that will show you how to do that. It's just a different way of holding the bottle so the baby doesn't have to keep on sucking and swallowing even if they're not hungry, because the bottle, that milk will just drip right out of the bottle, whether it has pumped breast milk or formula. So please do look up paced bottle feeding. Do feed every 2 to 4 hours and sometimes more frequently. Sometimes our babies cluster feed and will want to eat more frequently, sometimes in those evening hours, every hour. And that's perfectly normal. Expect your baby that's breastfeeding to want to eat every, well, 10 to 12 times a day. And sometimes that feels like that's all that you get done. Never prop a bottle for a baby, either during the day or with sleep. It has to do with decay of the teeth that are just underneath the gums, as well as choking hazards and other issues. Next slide, please. Okay, always follow your doctor's instructions in regards to giving formula, and if you have to add any fortifiers to it because you've had a premature labor or preemie baby. Mix formula correctly, 2 ounces of water with 1 ounce of formula. Don't add more water to make more milk. That dilutes the concentration and therefore the calories. Don't add cereal to the bottles. Discard leftover breast milk or formula within an hour. If you're feeding baby and there's still a little breast milk or formula in the bottle, do discard it within an hour if baby is not going to finish it. And don't use a microwave to warm the bottle. There are hot spots, and when those hot spots, when we eat our food and there's hot spots on our plate, we can burn our roof of our mouth or our tongue. So we don't want that to happen with the bottle. Use a bowl with hot water or actually warm water out of the tap and let the bottle sit in there. Or there are actually some bottle warmers too that I've seen some patients use. Okay, next slide, please. Bathing your baby, key thing is that in the hospital, you'll be able to observe a bath and or give your baby a bath prior to leaving the hospital. And that is really helpful. And they'll show you kind of the sponge bath way, a little basin and or the bathtub, whichever you prefer, the baby bathtub. And key thing is to get all your supplies together first. Never leave baby alone. You always want to keep a hand on baby in the bathtub, even when they're newborn or as they're getting older. Just a safety measure. Make sure when you get home that you check your temperature of your hot water heater to make sure it's set at 120 degrees or less. Otherwise, babies, or not babies necessarily, but as they get older, little toddlers can turn on that hot water and get scalded very easily if it's above the 120 degrees. Okay, and they encourage you to use infant bathtubs manufactured before October 2nd of 2017 because of some of them were just not made correctly. And bath seats are not recommended. Babies can slip and tip over in those. Babies are known to drown in even 1 inch or 2 inches of water. Next slide, please. Okay. Always start with your face. I like this picture too because mom has that arm completely around baby as she's washing the back. So always keep a hand on baby. Always start at the head or face first and go to the toes. I think I'm going to leave a lot of this for when you're in the hospital and you get some of that instruction from the nurses. So please go ahead and look at the healthychildrens.org website. That's a wealth of good information, from bathing your baby to feeding your baby to illness and when to call your doctor. Thank you. Go ahead and next slide. Taking infant's temperature, there really isn't, you don't have to take baby's temperature on a regular basis. You don't have to take it daily. Mommy and daddy, if you feel like in your heart, your mommy's heart, I always say, that something's wrong with your baby, there probably is. So if you feel baby and think baby's is warm to touch or hot to touch, check that temperature. There's different type of thermometers. There can be the digital thermometer, which is shown in this picture, and that can be used in the mouth, under the arm, or rectally. Most of the time we would, in the hospital, take that under the armpit. And if a baby has a temperature of 100.4 or greater, that's a fever. Or sometimes our newborns, when they're sick, will be 97.8 or lower. So those are newborns that usually will show us that low temperature if they're sick. And there's also the temporal and tympanic type of thermometers too that you can purchase almost everywhere now. I tend to think this one is a good one. I know that there is research on temporal and tympanic as well, that they are accurate, but just key thing is to not have a mercury thermometer still in your home. If so, make sure you check with the Cedar Rapids landfill and double check how to get rid of that, because we don't want any mercury thermometers around anymore, and don't use them. Next slide, please. So if your baby is having any trouble breathing really, really fast, maybe making a lot of noises, maybe a stuffy nose type of sound, or wheezing, trouble breathing, or has blue lips or above the upper lip, make sure you call your doctor. Yellow skin or eyes, that is jaundice or hyperbilirubinemia. That's checked a couple times in the hospital before you're discharged, and your doctor will follow you and your baby until that bilirubin comes down. It's checked with a scan on the forehead, but it also can be checked for a lab out of one of the baby's veins. And sometimes your baby would need phototherapy, which is a light to break up the bilirubin on the skin, or that yellow color, so that it can be broken up and then go out through the stools. If your baby has watery stools or blood in the stools, temperature of 100.4 or greater or less than 97.8, very sleepy or very fussy, not eating well, or having trouble breathing when baby's eating, or if you just feel like something's wrong, make sure that You just listen to your heart. You know your child, and just be your baby's advocate and call your doctor. Next slide, please. What we need to know about crying. Babies cry, and it's a normal thing. That is the way baby communicates. Okay, go ahead and change the slide. Crying increases usually around 2 weeks of age and peaks at 2 months of age, and then decreases between 3 and 5 months of age. And I like to always say some babies just cry more than others, and I don't know if it's just part of their personality and their character. I would say my youngest probably cried more than my 2 older sons. And I think I even remember in the hospital after having him, how the nurses would kind of give me a look and would say, and some of these were friends, they would kind of give me a look and say, oh my goodness, he's crying a lot, or, oh, are you going to be okay going home? And my response was yes. You know, you just put them to breast and they're okay. But you will get to know your baby's individual cries and what they mean, whether they just need to be held, whether I have a wet diaper or stool, I need to be fed. Trust that you will get to know your baby very quickly. And do know that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you've tried everything, you've comforted your baby, you've held your baby, you fed and changed the diaper, and your little boy or girl is still crying. It's okay to put him in that safe place, that crib, and walk away. And call for help, whether that's a support person is your mom or your sister or somebody at the hospital. That's okay to do that. Never pick up your baby when you're angry, and never shake your baby. Next slide, please. Yes, I love, always enjoy putting my babies to rest. It just is a comforting thing for me when I'm feeling tired and fatigued with my little ones, as well as comforting for baby, all that good prolactin. Period of purple crying is my last slide, I believe, and just a little bit more information about what HACAP provides. So the period of purple crying has been around maybe 10, 15 years now. I always felt like it was in combination with shaken baby syndrome and or colic. We don't talk about colic quite so much. Each of the letters in the word purple stand for something. And the first is the peak of crying, usually, like I said, usually peaks around the second month of life. U is unexpected. Crying comes and goes unexpectedly for no apparent reason. R resists soothing. Crying continues even despite all the soothing that you may do. Pain in the face or pain-like face. Infants look like they're in pain even when they're not. L is for long lasting. Crying can go on for 30 to 40 minutes at a time and often for longer. Even E is for evening crying. Crying occurs mostly in the evening. And I think we all know, if you've been a parent before, that evening time seems to be a stressful time anyway. I think mom and dads are tired then, babies are tired. Just relax, reach out for that support once again, and talk to each other. If you have that support in the home, talk to each other and come up with the plan and what to do. And maybe one of you gets to sleep and the other one's up for a couple hours, and then you change it out again. So have a plan. And once again, there's some more information on period of purple crying at aap.org. And I will let you go ahead and change the slide, please. And both hospitals, I believe, still either give the DVD on period of purple crying, or they have the book that's on the left-hand bottom side of this slide right now, with a link to where you can go so you can get more information on period of purple crying. I really wish that it was around when my kids were little. It's worth watching and learning from. Next slide, please. All right, so HACAP is Hawkeye Area Community Action Program. We are a nonprofit organization. I am actually part of the Family and Community Health Alliance, and under that umbrella is actually maternal health. I'm a maternal health nurse, which means I work with pregnant moms in their first, second, third trimester and postpartum. I meet with them on a regular basis to make sure that they have the resources they need, make referrals to other agencies like Bridgehaven, Birthright, YPN, dentist, doctor's office if they don't already have a doctor. We do a lot of health education as well. WIC is part of that under that umbrella as well. And WIC is Women, Infant, and Children. It's a supplemental food program for moms and babies. So moms can come into WIC. They're eligible according to their income, or if they already have Medicaid, they're eligible to be a WIC client. And so during their pregnancy, so if anybody needs WIC, please don't hesitate to go to our HACAP site, and then there's a WIC link. Pregnant moms can enroll, and if it's a first-time mom, that's fine. It might be a first-time mom that's new to WIC, but maybe there's she may have already 2 or 3 other children, but you didn't know about WIC then. Perfectly fine. Please call us with any questions. And infants, as soon as the infants or newborns are born, they are referred on to our agency or WIC agency in our urban clinic on 3rd Avenue. We get a referral from both of the hospitals in this area. And then we make sure that the mother and baby have their appointment postpartum and they're certified again. So mom will still get a food package for if she's breastfeeding up for a full year. If she chooses to formula feed, she has a food package for 6 months. But if she's breastfeeding, her food package will be a little bit increased from her pregnancy package. And baby, actually, we start babies, but they go to 5 years of age with their food package. iSmile, we also have the iSmile program, which is iSmile in school and also iSmile in our WIC clinics. And they are dental hygienists that do fluoride on our children's teeth. Our infants, well, once they get teeth, and that little 1 or 2 second tooth that comes in, and up to our pregnant moms. So the fluoride can be applied. And we also make sure that everyone has a dentist. We want these babies to see a dentist at 1 year of age. And First 5 is another program we have that if you have a physician or pediatrician that's part of that program, they can refer you to our First 5 coordinators that also can do home visits and make sure you have the resources you need for your family as a whole unit. So sorry, I need to, if that was too fast, but please, I will take questions, Stephanie, how long you want to do that for here, or if there's any questions that I missed. Thank you, everybody, and congratulations for your pregnancy and having your baby. I hope to see some of you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori.
You're
There
welcome.
were no extra questions, but we do want to go ahead and open it up for any questions that you may have. So we'll give you a quick second to put some things in the chat or in the question and answer session, if you have any questions.
There was a question here. Can we use our older kid's car seat for the second kid too? So 8 years would be too long. So if you have an 8-year-old son, that cart seat is no longer safe for your baby to use. And maybe I already alluded to that answer, I guess, during my discussion.
You did. You had covered it, and so I guess assumed that she had gotten it. It looks like Mercy. Can you talk about COVID visitor restrictions, the current restrictions, please?
Sure. Okay, so it is recommended that all of your visitors be healthy, of course. If they have any sort of symptoms of any illness, what COVID or not, they really should not come to visit, because our babies are basically brand newborns. They haven't been exposed to anything, so they don't have a good immune system yet, and so we want to help keep them healthy. And really, I know that, like, for instance, grandparents, they don't want to miss a thing, but we don't want them to get the baby sick either. They need to wait to meet your baby until they're healthy. But as far as COVID goes and our particular unit, each laboring mom can designate a support person, and that is your person that is assigned to you that your whole hospital stay. And then you can have 2 additional visitors. They can be anyone, as long as they're over the age of 16, or siblings. So those people can trade in and out. It's not like you have to assign your 3 people. But keep in mind our waiting room is not available because we don't want germs to be congregating there. So if you have, say you already have your husband and your 2 additional visitors and a 3rd person arrives, they really need to wait in their vehicle until one of your other visitors leaves. And maybe they can kind of coordinate. That's what a lot of our families have been doing, is their family members have been coordinating their visits so that they're not worried about that. If your baby has 2 siblings who are going to want to come and visit, either your significant other can head home and pick them up, or a lot of times maybe a grandparent is watching them for you. Your significant other or labor support person can go out and meet them in their car and bring the kids in that way. We don't want you to just send little ones in. That's not very safe either. They shouldn't be sent in by themselves. But as far as masks and not, again, we're very consistent with that. Regardless of vaccination status, all visitors need to have masks on, especially when they're in the hallway. If they're in your room and they have not been vaccinated, we recommend that they wear a mask when staff is in the room. Our staff members, regardless of their vaccination status, have to wear a mask at all times when they're in the hospital. And when they're in a patient room with you, they're going to have a mask on as well. And again, I mentioned this earlier to another question. We're very meticulous with our hand hygiene as well, especially in this time. We have the alcohol hand foam, and then each room has a sink right by the door, so you can wash your hands there too. Does that answer your question, I hope?
I don't see any response to it. Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Perfect. All right.
And then I see there's a question there about the car seat. Lori, I know kids are fabulous for screaming. They're wonderful, especially when they're not my children. I'll just say that. But she recommends that it's probably been too long if it's 8 years between your kids. So I would get a fresh car seat, get a brand new one.
And I wanted to say one more thing too about WIC. We do have a WIC breastfeeding peer counselor program too. So for anybody that does choose to breastfeed, we have peer counselors on board that come alongside the breastfeeding mom through their journey. And it's a texting program, so they provide support, they introduce themselves, they send you website links, and that's for a whole entire year if that's what you choose to breastfeed for.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's a great segue into our Save the Date for Ask a Lactation Consultant. This is another webinar that we'll be partnering with Amerigroup on. Dr. Anastasia Davis, who is also part of our medical advisory team, will be doing this particular webinar. So all of the questions you've ever wanted to ask about breastfeeding, or maybe you think about something after this webinar that you would really like to have answers to regarding breastfeeding, please feel free to join us. It is free. You can use your cell phone now to use the QR code that is on the screen, and it'll take you right to the registration page for this, or you can use the bit.ly lactation webinar URL that is listed there. It looks like there was one more question that did just pop up. Is there a place for emotional support after delivery? Emotionally not safe environment?
Yes, so that's a very good question. I think both of the hospitals do a depression screen before they leave the hospital. So we're already getting that baseline or that foundation and knowing what your score is. And if it's greater than 10, we know that we will refer you on to the physician or primary care provider. We also do prenatal one-time postnatal, but it's a depression screen in the WIC clinic when we see the clients, as well as I know several of the OB offices and Eastern Iowa Women's Health Center do a depression screen during their second trimester usually. But to provide those services, there's a lot of support. There is the Abbey Center. There is a lot of different counseling agencies out there. If you're part of Eastern Iowa Women's Health Center, you have a therapist there, Diana Sorensen, that's a big help with those clients that you can sit down and talk with her. But we do have a list, and if you went to the linncounty.org website too, and looked up community resource sheets, there is emotional support or mental health counseling sheet, and there's a wealth of different counselors and therapists in this area. A little bit of lead work, but primarily always if you have any symptoms, tearful, crying a lot, can't concentrate, can't make simple decisions, feel like you can't take care of yourself or your baby, always talk with your care provider, your physician first, and they can talk out whether you need medication or therapy or a counselor.
Another thing that I recommend as well is if you have a history of depression or anxiety, even if you're not on medication right now, that does put you at greater risk for postpartum depression and anxiety. So I would talk with your doctor about that ahead of time. A lot of patients will come to us with a plan in place that I'm going to restart this medication after delivery, or this is what worked for me in the past. So their doctor has a plan with them to go ahead and start medication to try and head off some of those problems. That's something that I would really encourage you to do.
Thank you so much, ladies. And I pray that this actually answered your question there. And if it didn't, please feel free to put something else in there. Thank you very much. I noticed that they responded. All right. Well, now comes the time that we've all been waiting for. Just so that everyone knows, you all everyone who has attended tonight does get the free baby bundle. Yay. Yay. All right. And so winner, drum roll, please. All right. The winner tonight is Mariah Cole. And so Mariah, please be looking for an email from me so that I can get your address to ship this particular pack and play to you directly to your home, so that you don't have to worry about picking it up or anything like that. For everyone who is on the call, please look for a couple of things. One, an email from me that will be sharing how to pick up your free baby bundle that has a lot of wonderful things in it for you. And also, we are going to be asking that you would do a survey to let us know what things we did well and what things we could improve. So feel free to share that feedback with us. If there's anything that you wish that we would have covered that wasn't covered, or maybe we went too fast or we went too slow, definitely please let us know, because we're going to continue doing these baby showers, and we want to make sure that we make each one better for the next person who participates. Lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. You all are amazing. And I thank you for your time and for sharing with us on today from Amerigroup, Mercy Birthplace, HACAP, and Count the Kicks. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to your responses to the emails that are to come. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Hey, Stephanie, there was one last final question. Sorry if anybody can drop they want, but at least for
I can answer.
For Lydia who asked, Lori, I think that would be you.
Okay, yes, I can go ahead and answer. And I would agree. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Yes, so is it true that you can give a baby a bottle, they may learn to prefer it over breastfeeding? So there's all different thoughts on this, but how I see it is mainly it's the baby. Some babies go back and forth between the bottle and the breast, no problem. The problem is that we don't know which baby is going to do that well and which baby's not until we actually do it. So the key thing that I always tell my moms is that don't provide a bottle if at all possible for 2 to 3 weeks. If you're planning on breastfeeding, let that baby stay at the breast, let the baby hang out, suckle, and nurse whenever he or she wants to. And don't provide a bottle unless it's medically necessary. That gets baby off to a really good start. It increases your milk supply. You get more comfortable with breastfeeding, so does baby. It takes a while to baby to figure out how to suck, swallow, and breathe. So I don't think for most babies that supplementing, something happens and you have to give formula or that pumped milk, something happens. I don't think one bottle is going to make the difference. No, if you're asking, if that's the question, it's just one bottle. No, I don't think that ever is going to make the issue. The problem with bottle feeding, whether it's pumped breast milk or formula, is it comes out of the bottle really fast. It just drips. If you hold the bottle even at a nice angle, it's just dripping out. And that's what's happening in baby's mouth too. So babies learn very quickly that they have to suck, swallow, breathe really fast to keep up with that flow. And what happens then is they end up drinking too much. But the other part of it is some babies figure out that that milk flows there right away. So therefore they don't have to work to get it. So then when that baby that wants to go back to breast says, what? Nothing's coming out as fast as that bottle. So there's that little bit of challenge. And it takes usually 10 to 30 sucks for that, your breast milk to flow. So there's lots of tips and things I can help moms with if there's any other questions about that, or always check with a lactation consultant. Sometimes we can pump a little bit before putting baby to breast if there really is an issue going back and forth. That helps the milk flow quicker. Did that answer the question, Lydia? You are welcome.
Awesome. All right. So it looks like we've covered everything unless there's any further questions. Want to make sure that you have your questions answered on this evening. We will also send out a copy of the PowerPoint slide that we used on this evening, because I know for me it's better to have a short pencil than a long memory. So trying to remember everything is very difficult at times. So we'll go ahead and send that to you as well. And the resources are listed in there. So again, thank you so much for your time. Have an amazing day.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.